welcome you all for this panel discussion this evening titled Negotiating Patronage, the Role of Art Institutions in the Contemporary Art Practice. This is one of its kind that is organized in this studio where we are thinking, and we have a panel of 4 artists who are going to share their experiences as contemporary art practitioners, but in relation to the network of institutions, in relation to how practice is shaped, how artistic personalities are shaped as one passes through different institutions, right? From the beginning of training in the art institutions, art schools, and one goes on to negotiating with galleries, museums, and other art organizations. I welcome our panelists, Gigi Scaria, and please take your dice. Veer Munshi, Jayasri Burman, V. Ramesh. Please, I welcome you to the dais. I'm a little overwhelmed and I may make mistakes. Please forgive that. Now, as I set out the stage in terms of negotiating patronage, I would like the panelists to think and to take us through your experiences of becoming an artist, right? So becoming an artist is important to think about in relation to the environment, in relation to the ensemble of institutions, the ensemble of material experiences in relation to those institutions, right? How art practice is shaped as artist is shaped, right? This is the point of beginning. Art practice is shaped and artist is shaped in relation to institutions. That is the point of entry for us, and I request each of you to contemplate on this, and each of you would have 10 minutes. Well, you can take a couple of minutes more, and we will have a discussion at the end after you all kind of share your ideas around it. So I will go with the sequence. I'm not introducing them because the point is, as they introduce themselves, they also unfold a narrative about their formation as an artist. So I'm handing over the mic to them. So we will go first with Gigi, then Veer Munshi, then Jayasri, and V. Ramesh. Okay, thank you.
You can take. Hello. Hello.
Yes, it's working.
First of all, thank you, Chippa and Santosh and everyone here, those who have come to listen to this. Actually, it's a very sound bada na?
Speak into the mic.
Hello, is it okay now?
Yeah.
So it's a very tricky kind of platform. I don't know exactly where to start with. I was just thinking maybe I would start about some experience in different residencies and organizations which I've also worked at one point of time. But then he suggested that talk about the art, the career, how it actually unfolded. So I did my bachelor's degree from Trivandrum. Then I went to Baroda. I didn't get admission. Then I went I went to Delhi. I stayed there for another year. Then I got admission in Jamia. That's where I did my master's program. After that, I stayed in Delhi. So this was like in 95, 98, I passed out from Jamia, which means more than 25, 30 years time. So that time was very different than what is now. in terms of the Indian art scene, and also the kind of opportunities and availabilities of different kinds now exist. And those days there was only human resource development one course scholarship, and there was also INLAC scholarship, which was obviously there would be many people applying for it, like 2,000 applications one in a year. And INLACs was also like it was for many disciplines. Art was one of them, and even Charles Wallace was there. So these are the few things were active at that time, and it's not that easy to get any of these scholarships. At the same time, there was no much avenue other than Lalit Kala Academy. If I'm talking about Delhi, where I was kind of spent almost last 30 years. So Lalit Kala was only one place where one could actually, and there were also a couple of galleries. And in order to get into the gallery is another task, which that it's not that easy. So in that particular scenario, what happened was that in 1997, there was this organization from England called Triangle Art Trust Network. So they established a program in Delhi called Khoj, which was one of its kind. It was very different because Khoj was actually the first time they invited artists from almost like all over the world, and they were also very well connected to the South Asian network. So before, we were actually looking at places abroad, especially in the Western world, to see what art is. But we had no clue about what was happening in Sri Lanka, for example, Pakistan, for example, and other neighboring countries, Bangladesh. So Triangle Art would actually even put different organizational inputs into all these different countries. And they were all invited artists to come to Delhi. And they were initially doing that was more like a workshop format. So there was this place called in Meerut, there was a Modi Nagar. So this one place where artists were invited and they stayed there for almost 15, 20 days. And they were working. And the last day, it was like an open day, where people were taken from Delhi in one or two buses. So we were all travel to go and see what was happening in that premise. It was an open, there was a surrounded land with the bungalow in the middle. So they were all residents in that place. There were like 22 artists every year. So 10 of them were definitely from abroad and 10 of them were Indians. So, and different part of India. So that was one of that kind network which actually started off, and it took a long turn. Then one after maybe 10 years down the line, they have actually established a studio space in Kidki. That's the residency program they established. So it started as more like a workshop, program. And I can say that, I was also part of it in the sense in 2002, I was a working committee member of that program. So I've had an inside understanding about it also, how it was functioning. It was the first artist-led initiative. So all the members in that group were all artists. So there were obviously administrative functions were all there, but mostly it's all done by the artists. The program was completely conducted by the artist initiative, and the artists would also connect with other artists. So that network has become a very interesting platform. I'm just talking about one, model of residency, which actually was a workshop model. Then it has become a residency program. Other than that, there are other places which I've been to a place in Italy called Pistoletto Foundation, which was run by the Arte Povere artist Michelangelo Pistoletto. That residency model was completely different. So there, what they do, they actually not only invite artists, they also invite musicians, philosophers, architects, all genre of people from different walks of life. So they all come together, and this was a 6 months residency program. They'll all stay, and they will have discussion forums, and they will in between. Many people will come and joined, and they will do presentations. And meanwhile, we will all create some sort of an art. Then they also had some running projects which would be connected to the socio-political, economic, the different aspects of the and interactive with the locals in that area. So this was a place called Biella, which is between Torino and Milano, so between these two big cities. So the model of that is completely different, just to share. And now what I see in terms of the Indian contemporary scenario, that you could see that so many people have come up with different kinds of residency models. And some of them also, I mean, I do have a slight critical angle to it also, because there are also art galleries now initiate residency program. So, and I mean, one thing I have to tell you that, each of these platforms, when it actually established, and the artists had a free hand to do whatever they want to do. So the freedom in terms of what they wanted to work on, and I mean, it has nothing to do with an economic model at all. So especially the site-specific installations were actually initiated just to do whatever you like to do. And there was no thing about, and later you would be preserving it, or later it will be taken into a gallery space to sell it. So there was no such idea in that. So that gives a very different kinds of, people to kind of, challenges to take an artist to go further ahead of what they've been practicing. So, but then the art gallery scenario, when you think about the art galleries are initiating certain kinds of, programs. So they would always want some mostly paintings, and even sculpture, there is no much chance. So they was always, they want some work to keep, and they were, in one sense, they were nurturing the artists to get into their own gallery space. So there is a huge difference between a young artist, those who can actually, initiate their creative potential to push it in a different direction, and confine them in a particular category in which you can always work and you can sell. So these are two scenarios I see, in terms of, how an art, in which kind of umbrella art would actually flourish. So this has been happening for the last 10, 15 years. So you can see that the changes that art world creates with this kind of ambience. So maybe in 2002, I made a video work, which was my attempt was to make it in Pistoletto, where I was otherwise painting and I was doing other traditional art forms. So for me, it wasn't push for me to do something else. So then I created something differently. And after that, probably almost 5 years, I've been mostly making work on lens-based projects. So now when you see that, the current art world, how many people are actually doing anything beyond their, of course, there are issues regarding the material, the money, there is all kinds of issues that, you have to survive also. I mean, in our time, there was only one survival option, that was to teach in a school. So for the half of the day, you would be engaging in teaching in a school, but teaching job was available, and that was the only thing available. So the advantage of teaching was that, you could use the half of your day for your own work. And once you are out of the school, you can spend your time. So, but now you have these different platforms. At the same time, you also have, I think, the few of the universities have the practice-based PhDs. That's something which is also started now, which has a very different advantage, because once you complete that, you can also continue, you can have a university level teaching. That's another option which is out there. I mean, in connection with, what all artists can do if you are not a successful, quote unquote, material successful artist. How do you survive, and how can you continue with your practice? I think I'll just stop it here and pass on to
Thank you very much. It was fantastic to hear you talk about a moment when the liberalization of economy takes place, across, and that both facilitated certain options. At the same time, there are side effects. So we will maybe discuss about it as we go along. Now, I request Veer Munshi to take over the mic and then please uh, talk about it.
Well, Gigi has spoken about how the residencies were then and how it is now. And there are always advantages and disadvantages. We'll discuss that because there are certain points which could be taken it seriously, how galleries are launching the residencies and how you limit your practice in different directions. Before that, I may say my background because I was born in Kashmir and artist is an artist, you are born as an artist. So sometimes it fizzle out, sometimes you continue, sometimes you get chance to continue. It's a situation what makes you an artist finally. So I happened to go Baroda after I did my academic graduation, not knowing that time because art could be full-time engagement. It was just you want to escape from something. So you would know that time you believe in yourself only when you can draw. You can draw the face, you can draw tree, you can draw whatever around. And I remember in school, children will go be around and you create some kind of environment which amuses people in the college itself. So I thought this is one more line because my rest of the classmates turned into engineering and medical. That was the profession those days. So I wanted to be little different because of I could draw well. So that led me to Baroda. I heard of Baroda. I've never been out of my place since then. So I reached Baroda and Baroda opened a new chapter and institution which we loved the most, and especially that period, especially that atmosphere where we had, as Ramesh yesterday spoke about our teachers, Nasreen to Gigi Subramanian, Gulam and Jyoti Bai and Hua. So that was the time we got built. Finally, not to talk of much of Baroda, of course, that atmosphere of Baroda, because nobody teaches you art basically. To tell you have KG, so he has taught you, no. It is the atmosphere which is being built in an institution which makes you an artist. It's the different cultural baggages you come by in the same institution, you learn from each other. But teachers, they built an atmosphere. That's why these atmospheres are needed. Like that's what these institutions can build. That's why these institutions are important. I know there's always an indirect teaching. I would say we have learned more from those art fairs in Baroda, which KG would do toys and graffiti and calendars. That's maybe materials and mediums have come to us because of that. You reflect back on Nasreen's training of philosophy or her drawing. Things like these things do build an institution. After Baroda, I did go back to Kashmir. I thought I'll serve in Kashmir. I will do something out of it because that's your place. You always look for your route, but you want to do something from your place. So I went there, stayed a few years, but the political upsurge happened. I had to leave Kashmir in 90. So I reached to Delhi. So I always say I was reborn in 90 because my whole perception of life changed. My perception of thinking changed, my ideology changed, so the language also changed. What I learned in Baroda, and I learned that, start doing the work on which were politically charged, and the atmosphere that time was not so. I was always told, I landed in Gadi to work, so there were these masters, maybe Himmat Shah, Arpana, all those, Krishna Khanna, Santosh, Manjeet Bawa, they were on their peak that time, so I was entering. I entered again, there was no institution which will support you. There was Lalit Kala, because Lalit Kala was a big thing. It's not present Lalit Kala. It's very unfortunate. Present Lalit Kala doesn't even recognize someone's death also. We have Himmat Shah died, but they have not done the mourning. And so many people, so many died ever since COVID happened. So these institutions have not remained as they were. Those days, Lalit Kala was the, to reach Lalit Kala was you would be get national award from like it was a very recognized award, which is not today. So Lalit Kala was there. So we landed in guest house as everyone who had come to Delhi have become an artist have gone through this guest house, which is Bahawalpur guest house. वहाँ 5 रुपए की खाट, you stay there and then you look for whatever you want. But luckily it was in Mandi house. So you will go all those theater, music, art, everything. So that was hub. But you were paupers, you look for survival. So you land next was in Gadi Studios because Lalit Kala wanted to buy one work. They would give little advance. So you thought you will make the work, get the money. So you enter the Gadi. Gadi Studios also was not so simple. Nobody let you go in. So I stood at the door because I had to do this work to make my rest of the money. So I stood there by and by. जैसे चलती train में then you get this space. So I got it. By then there was little bit of request, but every artist will say, why do you do political works? You will die hungry, this, that. Till Ibrahim Alkazi gave me first show that time. That gallery was supposed to be best gallery. It was a different gallery. I will compare it in even present times, but it was very different. Alkazi was a different soul. It was where the gallery system was very different, at least art heritage. As we come back to it, because again, how does gallery system works now? Because now it's more economic based. But important at the same time. We need galleries, so that's how one builds it. Then I got connected because of my experience of political, and so I started working on these areas of migration, displacement, and politics. Politics because political was personal to me. So I started working in that direction. And by, we started we had a cultural base when I was becoming part of SAMAT, which was working on these cultural things, which anything happened in the country. So we would stand up. I don't know, this is not much happening now. So I always feel artist has a role to play with the society or with these norms, with these issues which we have lot, and either you transform the whole thing. My expression had come because you could not speak, because when you would try to say the problems to the people, because they are not connected directly, why would they understand it? So that became then you have to express and release. That's how you release through your work. So you create your language for it. So, but Sammat, like there were institutions who would fight for certain issues, do certain things. So I also thought after many years that studio practice is not enough. So you got engaged with people, the communities. So I went back to Kashmir or got engaged with the people and start doing some activities through art, like many of these shows. I tried to bring those artists who have left Kashmir, brought them back to have the base there, have those local artists, bring them together to build the shows. That's how I was engaged with. So these are the ways I would say for us, these kind of activities are very important. It's not only we document, it's also how you engage, how you contribute towards the whole activity apart. So it comes from various resources, and it's not one individual is showing something internationally. It's as a whole dynamics of how India has a presence in the world through what we do. So a collective effort in this, these institutions do matter. These residencies do matter. I'm very happy to see what Jippa is doing, what many other residencies are doing. It was not in our time so much. This time there is legitimate. There's a lot of happening for the youngsters because we do go for many juries to select the artists, and there are ways, there are means, but it has also dangers. Like there's so much of spread. How do you consolidate yourself and prove your point to, make your presence felt into such a big art world? Because that time there were lesser artists. The artists are also growing, but resources are also growing. So how do you find your way within? It will only happen if you look into your roots, if you look into your traditions, if you look into your where you're belonging to, and how do you consolidate and yet be modern, yet you be contemporary in present, because every 5 years everything changed. So you also change. You got to be upgrading yourself with now is IA. How do you take it as? So these are the debates one can have in these residencies. Because I think these residencies are very, and besides that, residencies can give facilitate, because if you are a graphic artist or a sculptor, these are the facility which need to be built. I think we are fully in support of it. Thank you, I think.
Thank you very much, Bood. And you actually brought out a very subjective narrative, different from what Gigi has brought out, where he talked about institutions at a particular point of time. But I'd like to ask you to mention about the time, which year? I mean, you didn't. Which year was it? Yeah, the year that you joined the college and then moved, so
Yeah.
the decade or whatever time period.
Yeah, I was talking early 80s, 80, 81 was Baroda.
Okay, then
Then later in 90 I came to Delhi. So I've been with the subject of migration or displacement or these kind of political things for last 3 decades. That's what it is.
thank you. So yeah, so we will kind of take up these different questions and issues that you have both have kind of put forward about institutions and how institutions shape and influence practices, right? Both by facilitating resources, but also somewhere creating boundaries, creating restrictions. So we will try and engage after the rest of the speakers. Now, please, Jayasri. Thank you.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for inviting me, Chikas Dakar and everybody here. I am really honored to be in front of all of you and my artist friends, and little bit scared of talking because my journey was completely different. So I studied in Shantiniketan, Kala Bhavan, and I only was there for 2 years, and I was married when I was in second year, and it was arranged marriage. So, and those days, I'm talking about 1979. So I was very young, I was 18 years old, and I didn't know what to do. Although I am from an artist background, and it happened, just to be happened, it happened. So it was a disaster in my life, and I really had to fight a lot to keep on my art and my life, because art and my life, without art, I am not there. So it was so important for me to breathe, to think, and to sleep, and to do everything for art. This is the most important thing to practice. Practice is the most important thing for all of us. Even now, almost like 45 years, I am working, and if I say more, when I was class 2. So from that time, I'm still painting and doing lots of things with art. Never left, dedicated and devoted myself. So I'm very lucky that I am from an artist background. My uncle Jayasri Burman, and he was inspiration for me, although those days he was in Paris more than India. So I was very close to Ganesh Halui. He used to live very close to my home, class 3, I used to go with my drawing book to his home anytime and tell him, Kaku, can you show me? And I have painted it. Is this nice? Is this okay? And he used to tell me, Jaya, এটা ঠিক নয়, this is not right, you do this way, come next day. So it was, my journey started, my institution started, my everything about art started from Ganesh Halui. Till now, when I go back to Kolkata, I go and I see him and I say lots of things and I really feel good. So this is the first thing it was in my life. Then my journey began. I never stopped a day without a line. Without a line, no day for me. So that's the thing. This is my priority. And also I must say that when my son was only 2.5 years old, then I wanted to go to Paris. So somehow my father helped me and I went to Paris and I learned printmaking from Mr. Monsieur Souzazik. He used to live in south of France and he has a beautiful studio and I have learned from him. And when I came back, and I think Lakshma, remember, we have done the printmaking workshop with Paul Lindgren, and also I have been very lucky to do the workshop with Krishna Reddy. So I'm very lucky, although I will say because I still studied only second year, I did not have many knowledge about printmaking. But I am very blessed that something happens when I do the drawing and the, after aqua something comes out, it is something amazing. I don't know, I'm very blessed. I am not at all technically good, but somehow I can't remember the year. My work has been selected Biennale Germany. And when I sent the print and I didn't have money, my, Annaprashan, the first day when you give the food to your son, that day he got 250 rupees and I got those money. I sent my work there in Germany. So that is the thing, like that I have started my life, I never ended. And I must say I'm very blessed and lucky that whatever I did, I got the recognition. That is the most important thing. And there is no regret. But one regret, what they are saying, I feel very happy about them, ki institution is very important. Because institution is such thing, you learn many things. I still miss it because I never got a chance to go to the institution and study. But still now I always say someone, can you get some institution for me? I want to go and I want to mix, I want to know something. Well, every day for me is a learning. So institution is very important in our life. We need many more museums because we have a big country. We have many artists, very good artists are still there. They did not get their recognition. I think they should all get it, and we should all have many more museums everywhere. Because when I go to abroad, when I see the museums, I see in maybe south of France, one little village, Picasso went and did some ceramic or some drawings. They have made a beautiful museum. One famous artist in Belgium, in his village, he was very successful. They made a castle and they made a museum. So we don't have such museums till now. So we should, I think, dedicate ourselves for that. And also institution, the children who doesn't have so much money, who cannot spend so much money to buy their technical tools and everything, that's very good for them. And to meet people and to meet many good curator, artist, and writer and everybody, it's very good to see good films, to know the artist's life and journey. And all these things are very important. Institution is very important in our life of art. Thank you so much listening to me.
Thank you, Jayasri ji. It was incredible. I mean, they say that when a woman speaks, it makes a difference. And your anecdote of collecting money on the occasion of your son's Annaprasan, and then that a domestic, family, intimate moment, intimate context, became a part of your work life. It's incredible. Another thing I was thinking in terms of your institutions, the institutions that helped you, right? If not Kala Bhavan entirely, but individuals as institutions, right? How individuals supported you, like many, like we have an institution sitting here, Lakshma sir, where his support really impacted, inspired, motivated several artists and their journeys. Sorry. So with that, let's move to the next speaker, V. Ramesh. Thank you.
All of you are very fortunate that you're sharing journeys of 4 different people, the way they have started their artistic career and the kind of detours and routes which they took in life. Mine is very similar to Veer's. We both are classmates. We studied in Baroda together. So perhaps it ends there in a way. The common factor we both share is we were both graduates when we went to Baroda. We had no idea about how one goes to a fine arts college. So मैंने BSc किया, उसने BSc किया, we both landed in Baroda. As he mentioned, we were fortunate to be at a time where there were many stalwarts, Gigi Subramaniam, Ghulam Sheikh, Jyoti Bhatt, Nasreen, Parimu, of course, for art history. Looking back in retrospective, yes, I think whatever we could get out of them have molded us and made us what we are. But the times we lived in, the times we passed out were totally different from the times now. One never heard of residencies. The only residency which I had heard of in Baroda was where Sheikh Bhai lived. It was called the residency building. We had absolutely no idea about what we would do. But I was very sure of what I would do once I passed out. I was not going to stay in Baroda. I was not going to any other city, but I was going to come back home and see if I could do something out of it. I lived in Hyderabad for a year and a half, and I would today confess with all humility and honesty that my residency, my convictions have come from this person who's sitting opposite me, Professor Lakshma Gaud Garu. His Somaji Guda Doordarshan studio was where I would go and sit every day. Have a tea with him when he would talk while doing his illustrations. That has been such an inspiration for me. This is what I confess, and I am deeply, deeply indebted to him that he allowed me to come into his space, which I think is a privilege. I joined an art college in Visakhapatnam, which is a very small college. Coming from the background of Baroda, where we had pretensions of being, well, intellectual and all kind of other things which we carried, here you come down to a department and you were grounded. You were brought to ground and made to realize that this is what is reality of an art school, of an art college in our country. Most art colleges were like that. Insufficient funds, insufficient teachers, absolutely no idea of where they were going. I think the journey was long and arduous for me, and I'm very sorry, and I'm very happy today, after more than 3.5 decades of teaching, when I come to Hyderabad and I meet old students who tell me that they're still working, that they have made it big. That, for me, is as important as where my career has brought me today. I feel privileged. I also feel a sense of humility that the children whom I have taught, I have remembered what I could offer to them. As an artist, I take that as a lesson. I take that as a lesson that I should be open to accept wherever my inspiration comes from. And as some of you who watched me show my work yesterday have seen the different phases it has traveled through. And that's it. So here I am sharing a small piece of my life and my journey with all of you. Thank you.
That was very short. But yeah, the one main point that I could catch from what you said is the informal institutional spaces, informal networks. Like in your case, informal networks really facilitate us, help us, support us, right? The building of solidarities, which is very important, right? Because art practice, while it is an individual practice, maybe, while it is a practice that you do inside your studio, but it is also a shared practice, right? We share ideas, we share languages, we share struggles, all kinds of struggles with each other, right? And these informal networks are important to move ahead. I mean, without solidarities, without understanding each other's sort of struggles and supporting each other, apart from the formal institutions like an art school or Lalit Kala Academy or academies of that sort, the point of having this discussion is to understand the solidarities, is to understand the need and necessity to build solidarities and ethical solidarities. Now, capital is important for us. Capital, I have a few questions, I'll come, but just to kind of making a ground. We can't survive without money. It's as straightforward, right? We need money. Now we need networks that help us get that money, right? That can be galleries, that can be collectors, that can be whatever. But we need to also create a self-aware space, a self-aware collective space and a private space to engage with that capital, right? Because capital will suck you off. I mean, it's a monster. That's the characteristic of capital, right? Wherever you go, you see, one basic simple thing that we all see nowadays is that you see buildings are occupying landscapes. It's as simple as that. That's capital. That's capital occupying nature, capital occupying people, personal lives. People work more than 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever. That is capital. Capital occupies your life. So how do you resist it, and what ways do you resist it, right? Without really resisting the capital, right? The monstrosity of capital we need to resist, and without really resisting the need to have capital. So having said that, I have few points, if you can elaborate, like how these institutions impact language making, right? Impact expressions, right? How these different institutional contexts, like art school offers you a space to explore language. Maybe residency like Hoj will offer you a different framework altogether than an art school, right? So my question is to respond, for you to reflect upon how these different institutions would create situations and resistances in shaping one's language, if you can share your, experiences.
That's a very important point. That's precisely that my name. Initially, I was talking about that only. So I think one major issue is that once you are out of the college, so you have these long years of, you have to survive. You also have to continue with your practice. It's a major challenge for every student, those who come out. I mean, today also I was sitting in a jury for one art residency program. So how do you actually, what you do basically? Because the initial years of your studies will not make anything out of it, because art is a long-term program that you probably, as and when you practice, and you will realize yourself as well as what you are interested in, all that will take a long time to unravel. It's not like, once you are out of your course and you just join a job, that is not the way it works, because it's also to do with your own self. So, and I could also see that there are many talented ones would actually leave this field altogether because they couldn't survive otherwise, because they have to take up some sort of a job. And in another sense, even in any art institution in the current syllabus, so you are not actually, they are not preparing you to take your life to any other direction as well, because you don't actually get to learn any specific skills. Rather than some sort of if your teacher is good, that's very good, and she or he would guide you to some extent, and that will actually connect you with certain people around, that can actually lead you to somewhere. If that is not there, what exactly you are left with? Literally there is nothing. So that is when such institutions' importance are very much in place, because what Banyan Tree is trying to do here, or any such initiatives of giving, it's not like, you are not judgmental, you are actually thinking that these artists, or is the student need some more time to practice, and that practice is not, they are not going to offer you anything, because they don't even know, they are still yet to learn or understand what's going to happen with them, because their language is not formed. It's almost like you have learned some language skills, and now you have to write your story. That story writing will take a long time into existence. So, in such situations, the institutional initiatives can actually go very hard way also, because then a certain institution comes and tell you, you do this way, it has a potential, and we will help you, we will guide you, we'll also put you in places. So then the artist, since has no other option, would end up doing what this person or institution is trying to tell you. Then they will establish in a very different line. So that is where you actually have to see, whether what your mind says and what your heart says and what your institution says, and where exactly you have to strike your balance. You actually have to strike a balance. I mean, you cannot completely ignore whoever is helping you, but at the same time, you can't just sell yourself to that person completely. So this is what I think is a dilemma. Yeah.
As I said, it's a lonesome journey basically. It is what your sensibilities are, what suits to you, where you get from where, it's your research. You have to pursue hard to get something from somewhere. I remember as young, we'll come to Delhi, go to NGMA, see Lakshmanji's beautiful etchings. So that was something you get, and you make your archive. You get certain things. I know Shakti does paintings. I used to like him into painting. We'll copy Sudhir Patwardhan's painting. It's like that. These are like you built a vocabulary within you, and then finally it takes long where you are at, because there's no syllabus. It's a very dicey to become an artist. Like, you don't know. It's also, maybe we are lucky to be in that kind of situation. Not we are genius. It's just we got a situation right Sometimes you are a genius, but your situation is not right. It is just by chance. Certain things have fallen into place, and you are in some kind of better atmosphere, or you are able to do in that. The success of art to me is not how big artist you are or how big price you sell it. Success of art to me is if you are able to do it, if you get situation right to do it. And many people I have seen who are much better, much skillful, much innovative, but didn't get the situation right. It happens. Situation does come, maybe sometimes with a good teacher, maybe with some colleague or some good communication with set of people around you. That is your choice. Where are you moving in? And these institution does help that sometimes it doesn't, can distract you also. It always is individual to individual. The gallery sometimes can distract you, sometimes can make you also. It is again your consciousness. I would say sometimes you don't get time, you are not able to do it, but if you are with it 24 by 7 in mind, it remains with you. If it goes out of your mind, it is very difficult to get back. It's a difficult journey that way, so you have to be at it. And very few, and I still believe, I tell youngsters, if you put 100%, you are at it. People, not 90%, not 95, even 100%, but very few can put 100% because it's tough. So when very few can put, so it's not difficult also. So you can, you know, as Gigi said, the most difficult part is when you come out of institutions. So for that difficulty was not with you. So, so once you come out of an institution, we have faced, I see students facing that part. This first 5 years is a big vacuum. If you cross that, you could resist that, whatever way you are there. So that part, that period, there needs to be a mentorship. Not necessarily what goes through art institution, as Gigi said, it's a long road, and institution plays a very short role, just a beginning. 5 years, 7 years is not nothing in this journey. So after, so soon after, it needs a mentorship, it needs such institutions where you may get positivity from the atmosphere you build. That's why these Banyan Tree and other institutions. I also believe it's not all. See, gallery has its own role. Art fairs has its own. Every institution, but we need more biennales. We need more art summits. We need more art, discourses in different ways and different places. That might build a consciousness because everyone is held up, don't know how to go and how to beat it. So I think that is what we need, and as I appreciate what's happening here. Thank you.
I look at it from a very academic point of view. Do you know that there are thousands of students coming out of art colleges in this country every year? Where do they land up? Do they have any place to work? Do they have any kind of support system? No. As far as I know, there's minimal. Maybe a few states might have Light Academy. There are residencies, I don't deny it. But how many of the students actually get in? How many of the thousands of people have access to some kind of place to work and some kind of minimal support to continue their journeys? We all talk of how hard the road is. We all gone through it. But sometimes it also helps if there are structures in places which can elevate these difficulties at some point. Having said that, all I can say is, Sudhakar, thank you for creating this beautiful space. It could be a drop in the ocean, but a few more drops and you make the ocean. I think this is such a wonderful thing which is happening here. which is exactly what has brought us all here. I wish that there were more such places and spaces in our country which foster and encourage such activities.
Thank you. Thank you. One last.
One last question, and then we will open the floor. Social relevance of culture. This is a dilemma that we saw some of the young student artists were trying to air, that what is the role of ethics, maybe, or what is the social political significance or relevance to art practice, right? To what extent one needs to consider them in one's practice. So this, like, how do you see the social relevance, that can be political or not, I don't know, but is this is a long durée question, like, is there a social relevance to art, or art is something that you do as you wish? Because we are no more living in those days and times when I do what I wish, art is for art's sake. No, it's not, it's no more that. And now, in this world where you have multiple distractions each moment, how do we understand the social relevance of art? If you have any responses.
Good question. So social relevance, see, it's not necessarily because everyone is sensitive, so are artists. I don't see artists is something coming from the moon. They eat the same bread and butter, yeah, halim and whatever you eat here. And you are sensitive to the issues, what happens around. You are sensitive to nature, ecology, political, social. But sometimes it's your individual choice how much you get engaged with it. It's also your individual choice how much you want to express through your language these concerns. But it's not, I don't see it's a compulsory, this is the only way you can produce art. You have your own life, your own personal thinking, ideology, your perception, your experiences. It might be spiritual, it might be anyway. There are many, many concerns. Socially, we were seeing, somebody was saying yesterday on the crafts and traditions. Like sometimes I see, for me, I'm using, I'm also collaborating with crafts people for my different reasons. Not social reasons, not political reasons, but for some other reasons. So everyone has their own take. So I don't think it's restricted to us that you have to really engage with. But you should, I feel that artist has a role to play, not only archiving or reporting. We are not reporters, we are not journalists. If something is happening in Baghdad or Palestinian, it's not reporting. It's also, if it's my choice to get engaged with. If I want to work on this subject, I have to engage with, not report. Not only archive, then you have a role to play. So that made me to go back to Kashmir, engage with those who are born in conflict, who are affected with the conflict. That's my choice. Because I felt I am a reporter otherwise. So I had some experience which got faded in 5-10 years. Then I thought, no, now it's not there. So I'm taking life in different way. But I said, if I have to deal with these subjects, I have to be there. I have to engage, I have to understand. And then maybe contribute also. When you're a filmmaker, it's your, if you're engaged with political things, you have to be very conscious, how does it contribute, not to polarize, not to, do it otherwise. We in our country, we had a huge migration of 47, or we have Sikh rights, we have many issues here. We have Bangladesh, but not much have been shown through the film media. We became more of entertainment cinema. We may have Garam Hawa or few films, but not major, not like how Jews do. we don't have many artists working on it, certain issues. So again, I say it's individual choice. Or why it is happening that way, I don't know, because we don't have museums again. We don't have, it's not easy to deal with these subjects because it's not easy to deal difficult languages because we don't have museums, we don't have support system, we don't have structures we can support our issues which are there. Our traditions are huge, rich, spiritualism is rich. There are many things, but many artists want to do many ways, but you need such support structure. So we are balancing the act between the galleries, between selling art, between doing what you want to do. So we are also in a transit of moving ahead. I am glad nowadays there are we have KNMA great museum. Museums are coming. Yes, another coming up in different places. So that makes a change. That makes us to go high on to do big scale works, big installations, which would mean socially, politically also relevant, which was not happening earlier. So, and also I'm seeing youngsters getting conscious of their roots, traditions, heritage, and also engaging with, you will see a lot of craft movement happening now in this country, engaging craft into contemporary practice, which was being separated, which has not given due respectability, which was dying. Next generation is not, many of these craft I have seen are dying, children are not doing because of social respectability. So there are issues, but it's personal choice again.
Yes.
I must say that artists are different kind of a pieces. They're very hyper emotional. So when anybody is hyper emotional, there is a risk to say it's good, it's not good, because sometimes we are so hyperly emotional. So politically, if we want to say sometime maybe it is not right because I am a hyper emotional, I'm thinking this is not good, it's not bad. So artists are that way very free soul. So it happens to us. I must say my conditions, when 9/11 happened, I was sitting with Porito Shen having dinner and we heard that this happened. I came back home, I saw in the television, I was very, very sad. I got up early morning next day. I took my red border silk white sari, which we wear in Bengali in Durga Puja on any puja ceremony. I pasted it a woman like wearing sari in a big board, like 7 feet long board, and I painted a face, and then I took a mask of a tiger, I put it there, pasted it. I had some, the red liquid we put in our feet. So I threw them on that sari, and I was like, I am Indian. My reaction here sitting, listening that why this is happening. So this kind of things happen to us. COVID time, I painted 36 feet painting, black and white, on COVID. When River Ganga was abused, you can say that so many dead bodies we thrown in the body there. And I was watching in the television, two things it came in my mind. One thing, we are very bad, we are abusing river, we are putting all the dead bodies. And second thing, my mind was, this is the artistic journey. That second time I thought, no, Ganga gives the moksha, we all know. So we burn the dead bodies near Ganga. Why? To give them moksha. So she washed out all the dead bodies and she was neat and clean. She's so powerful. So two minds came in my mind. So these are the things, sometimes it happens, artists take it such a way. But as we've said, and I said from the beginning, we need museums for these kind of works. And in our journey, we do lots of paintings like that. When tsunami happened, I have done many collages. Many collages, nobody has seen it. My trunks are full of those kinds of work. When I feel that kind of claustrophobic, I do lots of different kind of work. I bust it out. But nobody has seen them because we don't have that kinds of viewers and whatever. But in our journey, we really take it out. नहीं तो लिख के, नहीं तो कुछ करके, we take it out because we are hyperly emotional pieces.
I think all my three friends and colleagues have kind of summed it up so beautifully. There's nothing much left for me to say, except the fact that as artists and as human beings, we are all sensitive to what's happening around us. Some of us are probably more equipped than the others to put it in a different language so that people who either look at it, people who either listen to it, or people who read it, perhaps become more sensitive to these issues which are going around us. So I suppose in our own way we all do it. We don't have to make a huge hue and cry that I'm making a political statement or I'm not making a political statement. We do, all of us, in our own ways. So the relevance of or non-relevance does not stand scrutiny there, I would say. Gigi.
Hello. Hello. Hello, it's on? No, it's not. Hello. Yeah, I think art has a very serious, important political relevance, and I mean, it's a very simple that art is not, as Veer was saying, that it's not coming from moon. Our own day-to-day realities and the social system and everything actually reflects, and that is why it actually go through a process and which actually make into a form of art. So definitely it cannot be thought otherwise, and anything and everything will affect, like Jayasri just pointed out, and that. But then it's also a choice you have that how you wanted to put it out, because you also make cartoons, you also make reporting, you also do sloganeering, you also do picketing and karavos in front of major authorities. Does that actually help? Is that the one way of making art? So I may differ. So I think that because that initial and immediate reaction to an incident happens, because everyone would react, because it's a human thing to react. But then something comes out after a very long time. And I mean, for an example, I would say that the story of two cities, Charles Dickens, the great epic. In fact, it was actually talks about the counter-revolutionaries. The point is that they were chopped, and the whole the setup was in the French Revolution time, and someone who actually tried to escape by guillotine. That was the whole storyline. So, but then it's also a sensitive area where many people were affected, whether it is for revolution or against it. So there, this kind of nuances is always there. There is no black and white as such. When you think about it, how hardly it affects you, and how you will process in the meantime, and how actually you put it out. And it might take a long time. Sometimes there are so many people even now works on partition as an issue, because maybe the time of partition no one could actually even think about, and that complete generation, very few have actually talked about it, because they wanted to get away from it and they don't want to bring that memory ever back. So that was one attitude. But then the generations have actually looked through the literature, and the historical facts were all put out there, and people started reading it. Then they got another understanding about it in a later time. So the history actually reborn with us differently. So I've done a lot of work on Gandhi the similar way. So I just interviewed, this was in 2007, I interviewed people, those who have met or seen Gandhi in Delhi and surrounded places, because then that was a project I was doing, thinking that after a point no one would be there to say that I have seen this man, because there is no one. I mean, this was happened 20-25 years ago, and all of them have almost gone. So then this was a personal choice for me to take something of that in order to understand, because I'm living in Delhi, and Delhi has a very kind of troubled history. So in which a political murder of Gandhi was very important when I was researching on that. So I thought, I should take it up in one particular way that, I could actually, my point was that whoever has met or greeted him or had some kind of physical or emotional contact with the man, that's what I was looking for. I found almost, those days there was no cell phones, so I had to find, I went to institutions and Gandhi Museum and many other people. Through the connections, I kind of connected with almost 18 people I met. I personally went with a small video camera and sat with them and started asking questions on different aspects of it. What occasion when you met him, or what was the kind of. And I also asked something like, because it was an artistic interest, that, how he looked for in their imagination. So people have come up with very interesting stories relating to, and I could actually edit, because when I started off it, I didn't know how I will sum it up, because I had almost 20 hours of footage with so many different aspects of Gandhi, from a very personal narration of people, those who have met him in their life. So, but then I could actually kind of draw a narrative, and I sum it up, and I kind of edited it into a 50 minutes long video work. So I'm just, giving an example that, because history activate or kind of, it happens on us differently. You don't have to live in that particular time, but you can reflect on your time and see what has happened. So there is a, that aspect. I think only art can do that.
Thank you very much. This is great. This is really great. You know, we need institutions, we need active institutions, and we need discourses, right? Like you talked about partition, and there is a partition museum in Amritsar, right? And there's a partition archive, and in Delhi, and you have a field of partition studies now, right? In South Asian departments in the US, you have specialized departments that are dedicated to partition studies. So that generated a lot of discourse, but also archive, right, of people's narratives, not the narratives of the state, because up until then we have the state narratives, right, what the state told about partition and violence. But this archive, the museum and the partition studies really generated a new resource for many people to think about, artists, writers, filmmakers, right? So I think, to take what you all have said, we need more debates and discourses about issues, different kinds of issues, and institutions that are more dynamic and supportive to these different activities. With this, I open the floor open.
Thank you for the great discussion. It was about what opportunities young artists get for maybe production of their works through more and more institutions. But I went many years back, I remember many years back, not even one painting was getting sold in any of the galleries of Hyderabad. And the state art gallery might organize an art mela for young artists. And the art mela rule was that there was just a ceiling above which they cannot sell because they are there. And at that time, not even a rupee of paintings were getting sold to the galleries. This, I was the first buyer, and I remember the state art gallery made a sale of 1,20,000 rupees. And all these young artists, maybe they got little amount, but I think they were very glad. They must have got material, they kept on doing, and I still know some of those artists today are selling more than 50,000 or 70,000 one work. So what I am trying to say is, today there are a lot of youngsters, I see a lot of talent coming out, but maybe they are a little tempted by prices of seniors and a lot of zeros are getting added. Maybe I don't know, you have to tell how to mentor the youngsters so that their art keeps moving on. Thank you.
Hello. Actually, when 1979, I went to Delhi for an exhibition with Shubha Prashanna Bhattacharya. He had an art school, and I was there with him, and he showed he did an exhibition at Lalit Kala Academy. We all from his student came from Calcutta to Delhi, and when the exhibition was going on, suddenly Shubha Prashanna came to us and told me there is a park. I forgot that park's name, and he told us to go there. Small postcard you take and you paint and sit down and paint. People will come, they will buy 10 rupees, 20 rupees. I remember I was also doing, then Manjit Bawa came, and Mukherjee, who does the Mridalini Mukherjee. So both of them came and they bought, I sold 100 rupees. So I was very happy. So it was huge, it is huge encouragement. Still now, I don't know, there is a lot of people, they tell me, why do you give? My gallery also sometimes, why do you give? I still give in art mela, because I feel, okay, is bahane mein, they will also get some money, and some people, they cannot afford to buy a high price painting, they can buy. Also, the students, it would have been, in my case, happened if when I was like 16 years, 17 years, 18 years old, Lakshma God is one small postcard is there selling, and my postcard is next to him, it would have been a huge encouragement for me. So I feel like that, and I still like to do this. Nothing bad, it's very good. Very good. And we started from 10 rupees, 20 rupees. I have many catalogs where Bikash Bhattacharya's painting sold 220 rupees, 500 rupees, 1200 rupees. So I have many catalogs there, the prices are written. So when we grown up, we never thought of money. We wanted to be a good artist. And of course, professional and all this happen, gallery happens, that is happen, and everything happens, one after another things, and we have to work it. If non-stop working is very important.
This question is relevant or not, I don't know, but I want to ask you. You are all from a different place of in the country, like famous art people. I want to ask you one question, sir. We don't have Lalita Kala Academy in Hyderabad, Telangana, as well as Andhra Pradesh. We are struggling artist people. After completion of my BFA or MFA, how to sustain our life? One of the state art gallery is there, but that one also it is not in the proper way. But we went there, we discussed about those all the things, they are not at all. And fortunately, we worked with Lakshma sir. He arranged one of the Chitramai State Art Gallery. Few days we arranged like a printmaking studio. Successfully we run like almost 2.5 3 years. After that, unfortunately it is stopped. We don't have anything, and I would like to ask, why not in the every state one Lalita Kala Academy? Everywhere we have the students, like thousands of the students are coming out every year, but after completion of the MFA or BFA, but sustainability is problem. That's why they are changing to other places, going and doing some other thing. Why, sir? Why not ask to the government from all over India, artists and writers and creative side people, why not demand this? This is my question, sir. Sure, sir.
You should start it. You should
Definitely.
start a campaign asking for a Lalit Kala Academy for each state.
Sure,
That
sir.
will be great, right? Any more questions?
Sir, could you please answer any?
Yeah.
We all wanted that. So what to do?
No, sir, you are not in
We are
government
not a
side.
government officials here, so we all wanted government to do better. Unfortunately, private entrepreneurs, private galleries are doing, not the government is doing. We also want that. And what's happening now, in our time, there was zero. So we have seen, I think, much more struggle. There was no economy, even people won't understand what you are doing. So it's a better time than past. That doesn't mean you don't struggle. It's a struggling field at every time you struggle. So I have all sympathies with the idea. Well, we have to do it together something.
Yes.
So that's
Thank you.
why we support whosoever does. We can be only supporters.
Thank you, sir.
We cannot do anything. Thank
Yes.
you for
Yes.
question.
No more questions? In the back? Or responses or anything that you want to just throw out? Yeah. Oh, she's.
Hi everybody. I thank Wali Garu for bringing me here. I'm Shravani. I would love to sit and talk because standing up makes me extremely nervous. So I'm a practicing architect, and I'm also getting into doing more art now. So as a I made a personal choice to become an enabler in the process, in helping other creative people do more art. So I'm very passionate about bringing people together, making them do art. I feel like there are a lot of creative people who actually haven't studied art because their parents don't allow, and there's a lot of shame around creating because it doesn't give money. So that's the kind of upbringing I had. So I've been creatively arrested for so long, and then when I was in a healing journey last 2 years, I realized I was creatively arrested, and that's when I again restarted all my artwork, and I started doing more work now, and I could feel better, and I could identify myself better. And in that process, I realized I want to be an enabler, so that I saw the change that it brought me, so I want to bring that change in other people. So a lot of people, they have taken IT and like doctors, etc., but there's a lot of, they're creatively arrested. They don't know it, and they're suffering because of it, just like me. So I know the process. So what I thought, I would create a art movement. So I run a art community in Hyderabad. So what we do is we come together weekly once, and then we make art. So I try to become the enabler so that I bring artists at one place. Um, so my question or advice I would seek is, what should I do in order to take this art movement forward or take this initiative forward? What all things I have to look into? That's all. That's all. That's the question.
Appreciate your concerns and I appreciate your interest in kind of being an enabler to bring people together. Uh, as an architect, eventually, if you can create hubs where people can come together to work, that would be nice. Rather than merely putting two people and saying paint. People who are ready to, who are creative, but they don't find enough spaces or the right atmosphere. See, if every building you build, there's a space for people to come and work. That would be a big leap for anyone. People are cribbing not having electrical academy. People are saying that this is the only place where you can come and work. So, can you do that? Oh, actually, I'm asking you. No. Yeah.
My name is Ramesh. I'm interested in activating, getting people together I have lots of space, studio space, and you can learn many things with me because I'm a jadugar. Okay, so since you are an architect and an artist, old man, I like you. Please come.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Don't have to touch my feet. Okay, so I assure you that
Yeah.
I have answered all your questions. If you can understood, have you understood me?
Yes, yes.
Do you know how to speak Telugu?
It's
Malaipa
We don't have any more questions. I think we should end it here with this spirit of thinking about coming together, thinking about building solidarities, thinking about sharing spaces, sharing concerns, and sharing knowledge. Right? Thank you all very much for your attention, and my deep thanks to the panelists for their really incredible stories about their own journey, but also dotted with insights for all of us to think about and take home. Thank you very much.
Your dedication and creative contributions have been invaluable, and this event would not have been possible without your active involvement. I would like to acknowledge our mentors Lakshma Gaud, Ravinder Reddy for their unwavering support and guidance. Your acknowledgement continues to inspire us all. Lastly, a special note of appreciation goes to the young artists whose enthusiastic participation and constant logistical support kept everything running smoothly. I'd like to especially acknowledge Gayatri, Kiran, Gautam, Purva, Jyotsna, Meghna, Sai, Rajesh, Srinu, Murli, Pranav, Srinidhi, Kavyashri, Sri Anjani. Your hard work has been truly commendable. We look forward to creating more such enriching experiences together in the future. Thank you.